What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. You guys are about to watch part 2 of Wild Wagers at the Wynn. I am about to play a cash game at Borgata. Something for everyone. Not sure if I'm going to vlog this session. Kind of just want to take it easy and play tonight, but you don't care about that. You want to get right into those hands. And I'll tell you what, I don't blame you. So let's get right to it. In our next hand, we're under the gun +1 and look down at Queen Jack suited. Only 3 cards away from a royal flush. Seems pretty good, so I opened $20. Middle position calls. You already know Linda's in there. And we're 3 ways to a flop of Queen 9-3, 2 diamonds. With top pair, I continue for $25. Middle position folds. Linda has never seen a flop she didn't like and makes the call. We're now heads up to a turn which brings a 6 of diamonds. Neither one of us like diamonds coming in, and the turn goes check, check. The river comes the king of hearts. I check once again, perfectly happy to take my pair to showdown, but Linda isn't having it. She bets out $65. I don't really see what hand she could have here containing a king, other than king queen. We of course block that. I don't think a set would play this way. Jack 10 is one possibility, but once again, we do block that. And the most important factor, of course, this is Linda. I make the call, and she shows ace jack offsuit for ace high. We table our hand and take it down. Playing with Linda for a little while now, and I've learned 2 things. Bluffy overbet sizing means she definitely has it, and a value sizing that looks like it wants to get called is more likely to be a bluff. I'm grateful for the extra $65, and we're on to the next one. Once again, we have a suited ace on the button, this time ace queen. There's a strat of $6, under the gun opens to 25, under the gun +1 calls, and I raise things up to $85. Folds back to the under the gun player who only has about 95 or so left in his stack, and he sticks it all in. Under the gun +1 folds, I of course put in the extra $10, and we are off to the races against pocket 10s. A fair fight. The board runs out ace high, and we take another one down. Not really a ton of analysis to be had on this hand, but nice to win a flip every now and then. A little while later, we're dealt pocket aces under the gun. Let's go! I can already feel the adrenaline building up. I'm ready to play a big one. I open to $15, and everyone folds. Great. Moving on, we now have king 5 suited in under the gun +1. Q opens to $15 under the gun. I call, 3 more players call as well, and we are 5 ways to a flop that comes just about as nice as it can get for king 5 suited. King 10-9, 2 spades. Q continues for $20. I make the call. The button raises to 100, only has about $45 behind. This is the same player that we just stacked in the pocket 10s hand. Q tanks for a while, but eventually makes the call. Now we're in an interesting spot. I'd like to get as much money as possible in against Q here, and I think the best way to do that is check. Let the buttons take the rest of his stack in on the turn, which he will inevitably do, and see what Q does. So I make the call. The turn brings a gin card before spades. Q checks, I check, and the button puts his last $45 in. All right, Q, what are you gonna do, buddy? You're gonna call, you're gonna raise here. How big are we gonna go? What's the size? I'm ready for it. However, Q blows my mind and surprisingly folds. Well, that's unfortunate. We of course make the call. Our opponent asks if we already have the flush. I say yes. He says you're good. And we're off to a river, which brings the 10 of hearts. I'm ready to flip over my hand and take this pot in, when the button looks as if he had a light bulb go off over his head, flips his hand over, and announces he has a boat. He has 10-9 offsuit and got us on the river. Quite the lucky river for him on this one. Although to be fair, we were behind on the flop, got lucky on the turn, then unlucky again on the river. All right, strap yourselves in, guys. Q and I are about to go 2 rounds in almost back-to-back hands that will make the night for one of us and break it for the other. In the first one, we look down at ace jack off under the gun. I open to $15, and it folds all the way back around to Q in the big blind, who 3-bets us to $45. I make the call, and we're heads up to a jack high flop. Q continues now for $30. It's a very small sizing, and I do consider raising, but we are in position, so once again, I just make the call. The turn is the 5 of clubs. Q goes deep in the tank for this one, taking a very long time until eventually betting out $75. Now, that 5 doesn't help his 3-bet big blind range whatsoever, unless he has an overpair, but I think Queens Plus would have gone a bit bigger pre-flop. Once again, I make the call. The river is a 3 of hearts. Now Q goes deep in the tank again before blasting out an overbet of $425. I only have about $375 or so left in my stack, so he's putting me all in here. I immediately tell the table I'm gonna need a few minutes because Q has put me in the absolute blender on this one.
This is a bluff, it's a good one.
After going back and forth between a call and a fold and almost landing on either decision multiple times, I decided something just feels off here. Q is repping a huge hand such as an overpair or a boat, and we block jacks. I guess he could have 10s, but that is it. Pocket tens is the only hand that makes sense in this situation, and with one hand that makes sense versus infinite other that doesn't, I think we're gonna stick it in on this one. I put in the call and hear the two best words in all of poker. You're good. I table my hand, Q mucks, and we take it down. Props to Q for putting me to the test here. It was a very tough spot, but something just felt off the whole time, and luckily, we made the right call. Round one goes to me. Now we've come to it, the final hand of the session. It's only been about 10 minutes since the last hand when we called a huge bluff from Q, and we're going into round two. I look down at his suited ace, ace-6 in the small blind. Q opens on the button to $20. I 3-bet up to 80. Now, ace-6 is arguably the worst suited ace, but in the small blind, we are either raising or folding our suited aces. We block pocket aces, and if Q 4-bets us here, we can still get away relatively cheap, but if he just makes the call, it does narrow his range significantly. Q makes the call, and we're heads up to a flop of King 8-4, rainbow. There are a few kings that can be in Q's range here, such as King Queen, King Jack, but we can rule out the top end, Ace King, as he probably would have 4-bet that pre-flop, plus we partially block it having an ace ourselves. So I continue for $110, and Q once again makes the call. The turn is the king of clubs. Now it's even less likely Q has a king, and as played, we have all the kings ourselves in this spot. We can have ace king, pocket kings, even king queen suited. However, I do slow down and check just to see what he does in this spot. If Q checks back, I probably put him on a middling pocket pair such as 9s, 10s, jacks, a value hand that's very happy to go to showdown, and we may end up having to bluff the river. Q does not check, however. Instead, he bets out $250. Roughly 2/3 pot size bet. This would be a very easy spot to just give up and make a fold, but thinking a little bit deeper here, I just don't think he has a king with this big of a sizing. If he has a king, I'm not sure what he thinks I could call with. If Q does have a king in this spot, there's really only one hand he has to be afraid of, and that's ace-king, so I'm not quite sure why the sizing is so big. If he has a king, I would think he would size a little bit smaller, more like 1/3, 1/2 at most, to try to eke out a little extra bit of value from a hand, as any sane person should fold to this bet. However, it's after 5 a.m. and I haven't been sane for the last few hours. I think his most likely holding here is a bluff. Very likely a naked ace such as ace-queen, ace-jack, ace-10 that got sticky on a flop and is now trying to attack our turn check. Plus, we did just see him go for the full 3-barrel bluff in the prior hand. That takes guts, and I know he's capable of doing it again. Q put me to the test in the last hand, now it's my turn to return the favor and put him to the test in this one. I decide to go all in for $820. I'm expecting him to tank for quite a while, but eventually fold any hand not containing a king. He does tank for quite a while, but eventually, my heart sinks as I see him put in chips, signaling a call. River brings the jack of spades, and Q turns over King 10 suited, making all that analysis I just did in my head look absolutely ridiculous. Well done, Q. Well done, buddy. Sometimes, even when you only lose to a few hands, your opponent just happens to have one of them. I really don't regret the way I played this one, to be honest, other than the turn check. Put in this exact same situation again, I think the best move would be to lead turn. That accomplishes one of two things. It folds out any hand without a king, and hands containing a king are very likely to raise at that point, in which we can just get away. Immediately after this hand, while still stacking his chips, Q does ask for a selfie. I'm thrilled, of course, as this is such a happy moment for me. In all seriousness, if I'm going to lose a pot like this in spectacular fashion, I'm glad I went to a viewer, and more importantly, a genuinely nice guy. Congrats on the hand, Q. I hope we meet again. After this hand, the sun is only a few minutes away from rising, and I am dead tired. Time to go back to the hotel and get some sleep. That's all for this one, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Rough ending. Definitely a rough ending, especially after making such a good call just a few hands prior with the ace-jack. Unfortunately, just kind of punted it all away there at the end. But I don't regret taking shots. We just got to take shots in better situations. And as I already mentioned, Q got the best of me there. Once again, hats off to you, Q. Not literally, because my hair is a mess right now, so my hat will actually stay on. Numbers, in for 1,000, out for 0. It happens, but still, happy with the way I played, happy to meet Linda, happy to meet Q. Always a good time to play at the Wynn. Lots more sessions to come. If you've made it this far, thank you so much. Please like this video, subscribe, put a comment down below. You can even tell me how bad of a player I am. It's okay. In this session, at the very end with that call, I certainly deserve it. But there's a lot more play to come, hopefully better play, and I'll see you guys in the next one.